I'm James Candy. I'm the Business Development Director at Red. Today, really, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Red technology and some of the innovations we're bringing to the market to try and really help our clients gain competitive advantage in what is quite an aggressive world out there. Hope you enjoy the presentation. Thank you. So trying to give you a little bit of an overview of who we are, what we're about, sort of the company we keep, so the clients that we kind of deal with. And then kind of into section 2, I want to talk a little bit about the Tradeit platform, give you a kind of overview, but then really concentrate on some of the innovations that we're developing. And really that's there for our UK clients to try and give them competitive advantage out there in what is obviously a fairly aggressive world now. So we'll concentrate on some of those key areas rather than take you through a bullet checkpoint list of this is what our platform does. And then section 3 is really trying to bring that together in a real live example. So we'll take one of our customers, which is Hotel Chocolat. They're obviously heavyweights in the kind of gifting arena. So how they're using some of the innovations that we talked about in section 2 to kind of really drive and meet their customers' expectations. But also absolutely key for them, they're a fast-growing brand, is how that they can use technology to gain competitive advantage, as well as other innovations they're doing across their chocolate ranges, cafes and things like that. So hopefully that will kind of bring it together in a nice fluid world. And then at the end you can cover any questions from me and Carvin. So who are we? So the key thing for really Red is that we are an e-commerce platform and solutions provider. What we mean by that is we actually own and develop our own platform, which is called Tradeit, and then we actually provide complete solutions around that. So it's really end-to-end in terms of being able to pull together the client's e-commerce world, so all of the online, and then really harmonizing that with their internal and external systems. So for us, it's key for what the web front end is, but it's also what's happening in the background. So how do we ensure that, you know, when a user orders something on the front, that this is passed through back very, very quickly to the back end systems, but two, that the user can then kind of interact with that customer across a number of different channels in a very fluid way. And that obviously allows the user to order how they like, but it also brings real efficiency for clients. And so what do we do? With really what we're trying to do is deliver very innovative solutions for our clients, and really around high quality, so very well engineered solutions that have been really well thought out and carefully considered. So we're therefore taking the business requirement and delivering that back and trying to give them something that's going to give them huge advantage. And obviously we do that on the Tradeit platform. Because we own the Tradeit platform, we know it inside out, so we have a real strength and depth of knowledge on that side. But it also means that we can manipulate it for our clients' needs. We're not beholden to someone further upstream and where they're taking that platform. So in terms of some of the key areas and touch points of platform, so one of the things is that we continue drive the platform forward. It's key. This is a very competitive arena out there, as will be testament to some of the others coming through. But also it's trying to make sure that the clients have the tool sets they need for the world that they operate in, which is UK and international. So very much kind of focus on our client requirements. Also, they can drive that innovation. And I think this is really important to the clients. They're not kind of beholden about where we're taking it. They can come along to us and say, it's really key that I can do this. And as we own the technology, we can pull that through. We probably bring out about 2 new releases of the platform every year, so we are pretty aggressive on that side. In terms of other stuff, we've got various customers awards for our site. So recently, 2 of our clients won Sheer Lux Awards. One of them put John Lewis into 2nd place, which they're obviously very delighted about. But we also had another client that was 2nd in the top 100 Vogue's best online sites as examples. We've got rated Hitwise top 10s, and then kind of getting into some of the other areas. And this kind of gives you a real proof in terms of the scalability of the Tradeit platform. So we've got one client who's got over 5 million price variations within one site. So it's taking in things like huge complexity about who you are, what you bought, when you last bought, special pricing on that side. We've got another client that's obviously key in driving not only their UK but their international operation. So they operate across a number of different brands into a number of different markets, not only B2C, B2B, but into the international. So they have 30 sites via one base installation. Now the key for them is that it brings huge efficiencies of scale to them. They have single point integrations with various warehouses. They're not having to hook up lots of different installations. And obviously the real management side is having it all in one place. It just brings that kind of efficiency. But each of those sites can have localization. So for their particular brand, their market need, right down to sort of personalization for the customer. So sheer power on that side. And then we've got one client who's just gone through the 1 million products level. So certainly a lot of data to manage, but it kind of gives you a real feel of the kind of sheer scalability that Tradeit can deal with. So in terms of us, so looking at the kind of excellence side of what we're trying to do, so one of the key things that we're kind of noticing as we get more mature in terms of delivering sites, as the markets gets more mature, is clients' requirements and systems are getting a lot more complex. The level of understanding and needs are also growing. And so one of the things that we're noticing kind of coming through from the RFP side of things is that the requirements are fairly long, and we'll probably get a list of this is what it must do, and another list that says this is what it mustn't do. And so what we do is think that the real key to delivering is actually the depth of specification. If we've gone to that level of detail, if we've carefully considered and architected the solution, then generally it's going to be absolutely around the client requirement and give them a solution that meets their needs. Now, just as a kind of feel of this, we've never ever failed to deliver a project, small or large, complex or easy. So in that side, I think the key is getting into that upfront specification level. Other side to it, obviously, is we understand the platform. There are a few people that have their own platform, but a lot of providers are reliant on a third party upstream. Having that through depth of understanding means that we can engineer it, we can architect it, but also we can do the optimization to pull it through. And another key area for us is end-to-end solution support. And what I mean by this is that our hosting guys, and we look after and do host sites, sit right next to the guys who develop the sites, who also develop the product. So we work collectively as a team to ensure high uptime and to ensure the robustness of our sites. We're not having to deal with faceless departments in different sections or even third-party systems or companies. In terms of flexibility, I think there's a kind of, again, another key area. So a lot of our clients will take our cloud-based managed solutions, but we also allow the clients to have a perpetual license should they need, for business reasons, actually host themselves or host externally in other countries. We also control that platform roadmap, and this, I think, is kind of key to not necessarily being beholden, but be able to deliver that aspect for our clients. And when we get into the support options, to give you a kind of example that's coming through, so a lot of our UK clients have made very good inroads into the UK, and the international is a real growing arena. So if, for example, you want to break into the China, the statutory requirements really require you to have a local site in that market. So therefore, we can offer support options to allow them to have a Tradeit installation based in China, but it's fully supported and backed up by RED. So this gives them the ability to expand, but still maintain that core business technology without having to get into separate systems. And then another aspect to RED is that we do allow clients, if they wish, to have their own in-house developers, and we'll train them up. So that adds another layer of flexibility. And Tradeit is an incredibly flexible platform in terms of that front end. It's built around the client requirement, but we build it in such a way to ensure that they're easily upgradable. So sort of clients we kind of deal with, some of these are pretty well recognized names. You'll know some of them, you might not know all of them. But just as an example, one of the things that might hit you is that they're not all fashion companies, etc. So we deal with a number of different areas. And I think this is kind of key to Tradeit's robustness. There's innovation going off in lots of different sectors. Could be business to business, business to consumer, but even within those, there's different things. So what's happening within the electronics is going to be very different to within the fashion world. So this allows us to bring this together and for other clients in different sectors to be able to utilize that. So some examples are, if we take Delia Online, they've got in excess of probably 500,000 community users, along with their forums and things like that. So it kind of gives you that depth. But other clients have then found there's real use to kind of pulling that technology through. So just as a kind of snapshot of Tradeit. Now, Tradeit has a lot of functionality, a lot of different objects, but to kind of give you an overview of the channels it operates. So obviously, you know, you've seen for those clients, it's kind of proven in the consumer sector. And there's a lot of options in terms of how we configure it and how the site flows. When we talk about B2B e-commerce, the market shrinks quite rapidly. There's not many that can do true B2B with the complexity and the additional functionality. Some people will say they can offer an additional price list. But this really has proven heavyweight business to business on that side. Additionally, a lot of our clients are not single site operators. So this could be business to business, it could be different brands that they're wanting to launch. They may want to get into niche markets, and to be able to do it very, very quickly, cost effectively, without having the cost of building new sites or doing additional integrations. And then additionally to that, Tradeit is proven out on the international market. And that's not just your currency and language, but this is being able to get into localization for each of those sectors. So it allows clients to very, very rapidly deploy in those markets a fraction of the cost it would to deploy on separate systems. And again, with that kind of one world technology, one world reporting. Outside of that, marketplaces are fairly well known: eBay, Amazon, the likes of Play, Tesco's coming online. And so additionally to that, we can do the feeds through to marketplaces, so clients can again pull those channels and the advantages that exist there. And then mobile, well, mobile's present and it's absolutely key to going forward. And we have two options. We can either do responsive or do mobile specific. It really depends on what the client's trying to do. There's pros and cons of both. Obviously, with email marketing and one-click checkout and tokenization, it's fundamental that all clients now have some sort of offering in that space. So that gives clients, and some clients will sit in all of those, and some will just have one particular area. They might just be a specialist B2B. In terms of the admin console, this is where we really empower each of our customers to run and manage their sites. And so there's a number of kind of key areas. So if we talk about e-commerce CMS, this obviously covers things like your PIN. You've got to be able to manage your products, your categories, your promotions, things like that. But it also, for us, covers heavyweight content management. Now, we're pretty sure for an e-commerce platform, we're probably relatively class leading in terms of the CMS side. Without the need to plug in a third party. And what I mean by this is the ability to go to a template and edit a component on the page and then press live to be able to say, I'll take a core template and I'm going to choose what functionality I'm going to put in it and then add the content and do it that way. So we're talking about really heavyweight, easily managed sites. And for a lot of our clients, if you're Amazon, it's great. They're just going to sell and that's all they do. Product shifting is key for them. Other clients who are in special sectors as well, they've got to do something a little bit different to try and compete. So it's not necessarily just about here's a product, here's £5 off and sell it to you. It's about that rich content, the user journey and everything else that goes with it. And that's where CMS becomes fairly key. The marketing platform I'm going to touch in a little bit more because it's one of the innovations, but that's really about sort of the attraction, conversion and re-engagement of your customers and the tools that we give you. If we talk about order management just briefly, obviously, orders are key, but it's also looking at things like returns. How do we deal with returns? How do we deal with returns where we've got multi-point promotions in it? I bought 3 and get 1 free and I return 1. What happens? But I've also got spend over 100 and got £10 off. So there's some real complexity there, and how's that managed? And then key to us, and we're specialist integrators, is how do we bring that world together? How do we do it? And for us, there's normally about 20 integration points plus on every project we deal with. And these are both internal systems, but also external. So just touch on a couple of sort of the innovation side of Tradeit. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the marketing platform. This bit obviously is fundamental for what I mentioned earlier about traction. So how do I excite, engage my customers? How do I get them to kind of buy? And so this really touches on the sort of promotion, the merchandise, and also how do I personalize that world? The one message for all no longer fits in e-commerce. Customers are unique and merchants must be able to react to it. If you think about it, if you go into Tesco's, you go into a shop, anything else, you're getting exposed to hundreds of products, hundreds of messages. On the web, you'd be lucky if your customer sees 8. And they'll probably only see 4 or 5 pages, if that, outside of checkout. You don't have long. You don't have much of an opportunity. So how do we get the right product, the right teaser, the right message in front of those clients when we're all unique? And so this is what it's about. It's bringing technology to empower the merchant. So promotions engine, for us, we're pretty sure it's class leading. Allows you to do all sorts of lovely, crazy promotions, but then effectively apply rules based over the top of it. Who, depending on where they've come from, their session, the time and date, what group membership they have, what they've bought, etc. And that's then done as a basket calculator. So it'll work out what you've got, have you met the criteria, and give you those particular offers. But it's the adult adage of how do I then say, hey guys, when you come to the site, I've got this 10% for you, and I've got this 3 for 2 for you, and I really want you to buy this product. So that's where the advertising system comes in. So what we can do is, in the advertising system, is punch up key messages on all sorts of different triggers, who they are, where they've come from, if they're anonymous, their session, what they've searched for, that type of thing, to make sure in that small window of opportunity, we've absolutely got that key message across. And that, because is all configurable by the thing. Additionally to it, it can actually offer up product slots. So actually, when this customer comes through, I don't want a discount, but I want to make sure that they see this product, because sometimes by highlighting the right product to the customer will get you that sale. And then what we do is pull that together with triggered emails. Now, it is a bulk email system, but it also do triggered emails. What I mean by this is that it can trigger the fairly standard ones of not bought for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, but it's also getting into things like, actually, this product should run out in 30 days. Therefore, I want this email to go out. Anyone who's bought these products, week after to go out. So it's trying again to get that re-engagement side going. So we just have a quick look at that kind of journey as a customer kind of goes through it. So just to kind of highlight it. So when a customer comes, if we know who they are and everything else, cookie detection, we can trigger adverts for them. So it could be either products or content. So if we know the brand they're interested in, I could get the site up. Depending on the category, so the session they're getting into, again, we can react because we're starting to know a bit more about them. And again, trigger up different content to try and tease them through. We've got things like the search. Well, when they're searching, we know what they're telling us. So again, how do we make sure that we then react to it rather than just splat back a set of results? And then we can do things like, if they add it to a basket, I want this message to come through. So for example, if you bought this phone, say, great choice, here's 10% off this case. And hardwired in, but I don't want to necessarily put that all over the place. And then additionally to that, you've got your post-purchase email, or if they've abandoned, we could trigger again. So that's kind of one area. Another area that we've got into is split deliveries. Now, this isn't split deliveries as we know it, so warehouse can't fulfill, let's send half here and half there. What we're talking about here is the ability for a user, or for certain rules, to actually split that order at the basket level. So an example could be that I want to do ordering to my mother, my father, my aunt and everyone else at Easter time, but they're all in different places. How do I do that in a very fluid way? Now, my parents live in Australia, my sister's here, my aunt's in America. So it allows the user in a fluid way to be able to construct that, push it through to all of those different areas, and then be able to then push that back to the back-end system for them to deal with. Additionally to that, I could say, well, actually, it's also going to be my cousin's birthday 2 weeks later. That's the delivery day I want for that. So real kind of challenges on that side. Or I could say that actually for someone else who's a student, don't necessarily want to send it to their halls of residence, some chocolate. I'll therefore push it through to a store where they can pick it up. So that kind of gives us split delivery options. And then gifting, especially for someone like Hotel Chocolat, is huge. So how do I get the messaging through on that side of things? But additionally to it, we've got things like reminder service. Hey, look, you've got to remember it's Mum's birthday coming up, or things like that. So this kind of does present, when you're going from a checkout system that's effectively one order, one place, and then you're looking to split this out, it starts to put some real business challenges, not only on the client, but also on the platform. So usual things is how do we make the user interface really slick and easy for them? If it's difficult, they just won't use it. Got to make sure it's fast. And then we get into sort of other complexities. If I am splitting an order that's got to go international, it's got to go across borders, how do I deal with the tax on that order? How do I deal with the shipping? So who's going to be paying for that shipping to America? What are the rules based on it? And if we have multi-warehousing, how are we actually going to pull the shipping options for America versus the UK? Additionally to that, how are we going to deal with the payment? Because actually these orders are going to go out at different times. And then with that, you've obviously got the promotions complexity. So for example, with Hotel Chocolat, one of the things is if I've happened to have sent all these goods out, and I got a free gift, who gets it? Is it me, or is it someone else? So these are kind of configurable rules. And then the challenges are then presented when they want to return items in a very split world. How do we manage that? How do we manage all those different rules, and how do we make it very fluid for the customer, but also easily managed by the merchant? So these are kind of things that have been faced and delivered by Red. So if we kind of look at an example of this coming together in the real world, so this is where Hotel Chocolat had a number of challenges, and they really looked for Red to solve this. So they're looking for competitive advantage in that gifting arena. They also have a number of different brands. So they have coffee shops, they have hotels, they also have a tasting club, and various others. And they wanted to bring that together under one roof. So huge in terms of not just its product selling and gifting, but also in that content enrichment side of things. So if we're talking about the split deliveries, again, it's just saying, look, how do we make sure that it's very obvious, very clear, very well signposted to the customer, so nicely comes together for them, and where they can do and manage the order very easily. So if it's a single order like this, they can say, great, I want to choose to send it here, and off it goes. However, if what happens, as we have here, what we've got is these ones can be delivered, that can't. So this is not the user split yet, this is actually business rule split yet. So this one actually has a fulfillment date that's later. So what it's done is split it already. So the user now is very, very clear what's happening and can then see on that side of things, rather than they still have the expectation that all of it is coming together. So there you can kind of see it. And additionally to that, we can advise the date. So the user's then very clear on what's happening and can either choose to remove or go. But it does mean that you can potentially keep that order for that particular item rather than lose it. So additionally to that, the user can then say, well, actually, as I mentioned, I want to send these goods to lots of different people. So they can then come through and choose to split the particular order themselves. And this means that they can choose addresses, click and collect, or send it international. So here we are, and we've split them out into 4 different sections. And then within that, the user has a number of choices. So they could choose from their address book on that side, click and collect, or they can look up particular stores very easily and quickly. And what we've done is tried to bring out the interfaces actually in the checkout. We do not want people going backwards and forwards to different address screens and various things like that. It must stay there, it must be fluid, very easy to use. So it's a store finder, and then it will find their nearest store, and they can choose from there as an example. So now you've got all the items grouped, and they're then done. So accordingly, it will then put them in according to whether it's delivered, where it's going, on that side of things. And then from that, we can then say, well, actually, here are the items that can't. This is when they'll be available for collection. There is then a whole set of messaging that says, this item's now available. Let's send this out. And so the user will then know that it's on the way or it's ready for collection. So in terms of the other side of this, obviously for Hotel Chocolat, gifting is absolutely key to their arena. So it's then saying, how do I then choose to split and do different gift messaging, different gift wrapping for each one? Now, it could be that it's not just by line or basket level, it's actually an individual. Because it could be a corporate wanting to send 10 items to the same building, but each one needs an individual gift message. So again, lots of options for the user to do. And then once they've done it, they can then choose all sorts of things, including things like do not open when they deliver. They can also choose to say, actually, I want to send it anonymously, Valentine's Day, etc. So kind of a lot of really nice stuff that allows Hotel Chocolat kind of allow their customers to kind of engage and do the ordering how they want to, rather than, sorry, this is how I do it, and dictate them down a particular route. So other sides, just, it's nice. If the user doesn't want to buy, they can instantly, just with the click and collect, they can look up stock, they can see whether it's limited, they can change stores very, very easy. So they've got that kind of flexibility to see. And then from the store locator, we'll geo-IP them and detect where they are, especially with things like mobile, but of course to do it with desktop. Depending on what the IP range coming through, default them to store, but they can change that. So again, it's trying to make it as fast as possible for the user, so the user's not having to go off doing lots and lots of things. So just as a summary, it's just really to give you a little bit of insight into Red, who we are, what we're about. And it's, and hopefully kind of seeing a real world example of, of that innovation of the work we do. And I think really what's key is about us is that we control that platform. It's constantly moved on and driven forward. But also it comes with some leading edge stuff around things like the promotions, so we touched on the marketing bit. But also is very, very strong in that multi-channel arena. In terms of Red, I think really the key is that we've never failed to deliver. We very rarely lose our clients. And I think a lot of it's testament to kind of the depth that we go to make sure we construct the system around client requirements. So actually, when these things go live, they're on time, on budget, and the client is off marketing rather than necessarily, rather than necessarily fiddling. But if anyone does have any questions, if you'd like any further information, things like that, then please do give us a shout. Thank you.
Great. Well, round of applause.